But the butler did not offer to take those things from you.
No, I imagine not. Well, it is refreshing to not be asked to like leave all weapons and magical stuff, these sort of things. Apparently, this guy's not as well. He would be kind of. I mean, I suppose he does have a lot in the house anyway.
There is that. There's also the fact that, any noble here might feel well protected and secured given the location of the heights. You have to, go through scrutiny in order to get into this district.
Yeah, to begin with.
At
All
least
of our stuff
legally.
is registered and everything. Wouldn't visible fly over the wall, but it seemed like a lot of hassle and just walking through the door. Yeah, gated community. Was it how, in comparison to the other around laying ones, how big is this manor house? Like, is it like it sounds from the family history that it would be massive?
Yes, that is not the case. The mansion is only 2 stories in height, and there are other, dwellings that 3, even 4 stories in height and encompass a far greater span of territory. Whenever you load the map, you'll actually see the floor plan for the first floor of the mansion, and just by the looks of the exterior, it's far smaller in comparison. You would recall that Lord Teraptus did say that the house had been dwindling in influence and power since High Rock fell, but
They might have sold their old mansion at some point.
perhaps they had.
That's kind of sad, to be honest. When you drop far to sell your old family mansion to buy a smaller one, that might also.
These are dark times of these
Yeah.
rich white people. God.
All these problems, jeez.
Fancy.
I have to buy a smaller mansion. Only one bottler now.
There you go, sheep. You can describe
Ah,
how
I
it
may
appears.
as well.
And there you go. And
Oh,
your
that's
waiting
nice.
area would be in here.
So should we move there, I guess?
Sure.
Very neat looking. Alright, that's not that big at all.
Nope.
Let's not say that to him now. I've seen bigger mansions.
Well, all you have to do is look out the fine glass windows and see the bigger mansions.
Yeah. But he probably has treasures that are much better than a big house.
You cannot assign a price to one true magic item, and if what Lord Teraptus told you is true, he has a few.
Like 24 of them.
Yes, which I meant as 24 and not as your 40.
Yeah. I mean, it's at levels. It doesn't really make a huge difference.
No, it doesn't.
24 is still plenty more than anyone
Yes,
else.
considering how people...
Can't really deal with them.
There's few people who own one.
I imagine he has some really protected vault somewhere in this house.
So yes.
Already magical, though. Everything. Does the room sends any magical things around? Looking about?
Not in the room that he's in, other than the belongings that he possesses, as well as those of his companions.
Yeah, alright.
There's nothing
It's not
speaking
like
to
the
him.
house has been super enchanted all the time.
No, it doesn't feel like...
I guess that was the old one.
Yeah, Dwohurim, yes. Dwohurim does a check and scan, and he doesn't feel that there's any sort of protective wards either. Just non-magical.
It's
Opulent.
just turned into a heist. Not quite.
So, and, as was promised, whenever you all finish loading, the butler would finally make his return. He appears around the corner and says, "The master is willing to entertain guests. He will receive you out by the gazebo. Please follow me."
Alright.
There's a pleasant smile and follows the butler.
The man stiffly turns around and begins walking through this main door here, which I'll go ahead and open to reveal a dining room with another fireplace. Can't be too warm here in winter. Then down south through another door.
But at least it's not snowing anymore.
Yes.
So-
Oops, and suddenly there's a hole in the wall.
That's a bit excessive, I think.
He says, "Surprise!
Display of power.
I am the wizard here." Oh, well.
Alright, I suppose. I can't contest with that.
Go ahead and try that again. There we go. I'll go ahead and open that up too, sure. And he walks out.
Oh.
The area is actually green, and the tree here, and even the bushes, are showing signs of greenery, despite the wintry conditions. Although, to be fair, winter is coming to an end, and perhaps these trees have gotten a bit of a head start.
Magic?
Maybe, but you're not a druid.
What is nature magic? I don't know.
Yeah. As well as the hedge, looking back at it, it's, has some greenery to it too, and the pond
Lucas would have
here
known.
certainly does look nice, and it's not frozen, though to be fair, temperatures haven't been getting that cold, and there's a pretty little stone gazebo out there. You can see, like, couches and, like, a small table, like some bottles that people can sit and have drinks.
Yeah.
The butler will move forward and say, Master Lavelle, your guess. Thank you, Radcliffe. You are dismissed. The butler will bow and then walk back whence he came.
Sure, we sort of saunter closer.
The gentleman before you has weathered all that luxury can offer. His body lean beneath multi-layered damask. His face angular, rigid as iron. His eyes, two storm clouds, as he twists his head, blaze into yours. His hands, uncalloused, wearing rubies and sapphires, which, of course, for your character, Goger, smell like rubies and sapphires. His lips, silken, pose above a firm chin. His voice, incisive, sharper than a doctor's scalpel. Now, each of your characters will also have a little special reaction to him. I will send them in the order in which I wrote them. First, your character, Sheep. And now, your character, Goger. And finally, your character, Manaki. And you've got the longest one, even if the other characters were here too.
How exciting.
Yes. Secret knowledge for everyone. The gentleman will remain observing you with his stormy eyes that blaze until you all read the knowledge I have sent you. Or until someone feels like speaking up to him.
Maybe having been asked to leave our magic items behind would have actually been a good thing here.
Perhaps. Well, he's not getting my helmet.
Hmm.
Oh god, no.
Oh.
This is bad.
Just give me half a minute to adjust here.
Sure. So there we are, frozen in time, as the stare-off continues. I, he begins, was expecting someone a bit different. I was expecting 5, and here I see 3. 2 with whom I am unfamiliar.
Aurelia will bow ever so slightly, feeling spoken to, and say, "My name is Aurelia."
Aurelia. I am unfamiliar.
I have only very recently arrived in this place.
Welcome to Newport, city of opportunity and hope and promise.
She will nod in thanks.
The nobleman looks slightly down at Dwohurim. Your name is one that I recognized. Have you taken to traveling with a different group, perhaps?
Dwohurim is slightly staggered at the moment as she looks up and says, "Things have occurred quickly, my lord. I must admit it is an honor to meet you." He steps forward. "I've heard much about you."
Evrat Lavelle combs his uncalloused fingers through his side-parted wavy hair. Yes, I imagine I do have a reputation for someone affiliated with the Archmage. Bluebane, may he live ever long. But that does not exactly address my... No matter. I had wanted to speak with you myself. Dwohurim, was it?
Yes. Dwohurim Harsca.
Dwohurim Harsca. That is a rich name which carries some history with it. From Forge?
This is slightly out of the country. Small place.
And trained in magic, an unwelcome pursuit at times among dwarves. You are a rare individual among your breed, though anyone could see that.
Nuts.
Yes, I had wanted to speak with you myself, based partly on recommendation, as I have information which would suggest that you and your group... He looks a bit confusedly at the two behind you. Would know where the Orb of Storms is located, as you are the ones to last be known with it.
We do indeed. I must apologize for not being able to bring the rest of my usual group. One of our kind has taken off to fight the incursions at the sea wall. Another has had unfortunate accidents with recent magical experiments and had to be left behind to clean it up. A third again, so seems to be a bow. Well, he fell recently in battle against a group who you might have some affiliation with. They attacked us on sight. The Death's Hand.
Death's Hand. Yes, I do have some familiarity with them. Them attacking you is unfortunate, but it seems that you are the ones who prevailed, and I imagine that would explain why I have been unable to get a hold of Vane for another job.
Nonce. They decided that the best course of action when they found our ship was to burn it down and then attempt to kill us all. An action that they have regretted since, my lord. Says, and about the Orb of Storms, we believe it has returned to the living dungeon of Creel.
Now that would be an interesting turn of events, as the information I received about its location came from Death's Hand when I paid them to search the living dungeon for me, and they returned having spoken with it, and rather than killing it, just commune with it, and it said that you were the ones who took it.
We did. We braved the dungeon, were forbidden from ever coming back to it, but we managed to leave with the Orb of Storms intact.
Where
We
did it go
brought
from
this
there?
to Lord Teraptus, who attempted to use it to figure out something about the horrible winter. This then caused the magical explosion at the Arcane College, as something went wrong with the orb and it disappeared.
Oh, I had heard of that. Dreadful news. Although that would explain why the catastrophe was so vast and unchecked. Had they had attempted to fiddle with something of that purported power, perhaps awakening it in the process, then it is no wonder why such an explosion occurred.
They were desperate, I believe. We also have inklings that the Black Fang might have sabotaged the attempt directly or indirectly. Indirectly would be through assassination of key personnel.
But wait, the explosion occurred some weeks ago, and my job for Death's Hand was fairly recent in comparison. So you got the orb, then gave it to the Arcane College, and then it... Damn!
It is possible then, I suppose, that the Death's Hand, if the orb returned to Creel, recovered it and sold it to someone else.
I gave them a few hundred gold for their troubles. I didn't think they were hoodwinking me.
Frowns slightly. They were associated with very bad elements who have been sabotaging the Archmage, as far as we've found out. The access to their place was sadly very, well, restricted to us. We believe that the god has been compromised in many ways to disallow us from investigating them.
Yes, as I imagine many others around the heights attempted to look into it, but it seems my peers, whatever they were looking for, could not find that which greatly interested them. I simply wanted to know where they had gone, to chase any other rumors about the location of the Orb of Storms. Perhaps to talk to you, although it seemed that they did a bit more than that.
No.
Well, what brought you here?
There's a sense of destiny, I suppose.
Destiny?
It is a weird thing to say, I know, and not one word that I would use often. However, I was in Dragonhole, as you well know, I believe.
I had heard.
There, I encountered something through my arcane studies, restless spirits of members of the Second Circle. These gave me, after I had aided them and proved my ability as a shaper, the remnants of their legacy. I am to outlive the destiny that they were denied back then, and I have a sense that you might be a key to doing this. You have an aura about you. I cannot quite put it on what it is, but I am quite certain that you are instrumental, that you are necessary in order for this ancient magical destiny to be fulfilled. You have great potential in you, I believe. If we find a way in which it can truly be unlocked.
The nobleman looks puzzled, and looks towards the two standing behind Dwohurim with a like confused expression. Like, is he always like this?
A shrug.
The nobleman looks back at Dwohurim and says, very well. Well, certainly I have some knowledge of the second circle of Shapers and some power and influence, but I don't think I can help you with whatever destiny you have in mind, Dwohurim.
Sort of looks at him, near his eyes, concentrating on the feelings flowing through him. As he looks at this man. Well, do you know anything more about the Death's Hand and their affiliations?
Well, I had accepted this audience, thinking that it might get me closer to the Orb Storms, but it seems that is further from my grasp. I am not sure how much more I should say of anything. Individuals like myself do not succeed offering tidbits at no cost.
It could very well be that the Orb of Storms you seek is possessed by the same people we seek. The associates or secret leaders of the Death's Hand, whom they would likely have supplied this orb to. We know they're individuals who've been seeking it for nefarious means before, which was why we originally recovered it. They operate in this city, and they have been rather hard to find. If we were to come into control of this orb, perhaps with the promise of a few more talks to mine your knowledge about certain subjects, we could let it go over to your hand.
Again, I did not think they possessed it. I like to have faith in my abilities to separate truth from lie. But it is possible that individuals of their caliber might have been able to convince me otherwise. Still, it would be an insult to my name and station if I did not charge of some sort for any information or assistance.
Could you repeat that, Grimith?
Sure. Do you want me to repeat the last part or the entire thing?
The last part.
Still, it would be an insult to the Lavelle name and my station here in Newport if I did not charge for my services.
I understand. What sort of payment would you require? Perhaps we can do a service for you.
If you are familiar with me at all, Dwohurim Harsca, you would know that there is only one thing I value.
Austin says, yes. I suppose I know.
It is steep, but those who wish access to whatever I can do for them are sometimes willing to pay it. But I understand. And he actually, begins to turn to, face the pond again, expecting you to leave.
Draws the icy greatsword from its scabbard on his back, the glimmering of its blade sort of shining in the faint sunlight of the morning.
The nobleman pauses his twists and looks back towards you.
Sort of regards it with his eyes shining slightly as he looks at the blade, holding it firmly in his hand, sort of both hands on the hilt. As he looks to the nobleman, says, "I have a feeling that your help will be worth the price."
The nobleman stares at the blade, regarding it as it's in Dwohurim's hands, and the blade actually begins to whisper, messages of like a kid being excited, like at Christmas time, like yes,
Sort of holds the blade rather than the hilt and reaches it towards Everett Lavelle. He says, "Try it. Grasp it." He's excited to meet you, I think.
Everett grasps the blade, withdraws it from Dwohurim's hands, and it falls quiet. And Dwohurim no longer hears anything. Everett steps back, contemplates the blade, and says, while staring at it, "So you slew Death's Hand. Out of curiosity, I know they had true magic items of their own. It is a gift of mine, being able to see them, wherever they may be. How many did you pull from them?"
Seems to think back, now regretting that he'd let Leon take basically all of them. As I'm honestly not entirely sure. I know there was more than one. My companion Leon is the one who handles the ones we have found before we can finally look at them to ensure that they're not dangerous. Some of them had rather angry auras.
Yes, there was... Let's see. The necromancer held that codex, which was rather... had a flitting aura about it. The crusader held rather malevolent scrolls, which I dare not say. It's good that I don't see those on you, considering how dark and unfortunate those would be to possess. The monk, I would say, at least some sort of individual who valued not wealth or belongings, carried a ring with her. I ask because I saw 4, and considering the 4th magic item, I wanted to know whether you had found the one that I did not name. Was there another that you found among that?
You think, sort of nodding slowly, I believe there was another, yes. I think it was a... there was an armor, I believe.
I did not see any magical armor that they possessed, though perhaps they had some in their headquarters.
That is perhaps likely. There was the tome, there was a ring.
Yes.
Scroll might be.
Yes. Metagame-wise, the armor, there was no magical armor that you found from Death's Hand.
That was from the sewer Dragon Hall.
There was the leather armor of warding that Fargus once wore. And then there was Gryph's former armor, which was this armor with an odd smell to it, which he got from the
Death Dungeon, yeah. Well, I don't remember the 4th one then.
Out of character, I don't think there was a 4th one. I just scrolled in the group chat.
Out of character, there was only 3 that you recovered.
Well, Germal Enzer says I don't remember a 4th one being there. If these were the ones that were there.
It is understandable. Tell me, since you slew Death's Hand, you fought all of them then. Their leader, a rakish fellow named Vane, how did he die?
Germ thinks back and tells him how he died.
Which was to say, at the end of his turn,
he just fell over.
Without being staggered, as was quipped on at the time, he just fell over, apparently dead, having succumbed to the poison.
Yeah, he seemingly fell over, died from poison.
Yes, I had thought as much. I did not get a close look at them. I'm not able to examine them, of course. It's not as if adventurers hand me over their treasures, but I had seen that one before, and the aura it exudes, I can tell them by their auras. And that one was a particular trinket common among those who are affiliated with the Prince of Shadows. It is I'll tell it in an anecdote. So, 3 men sentenced to hang for their crimes, stripped of obvious magical items, or anything that would be of assistance to them. All there with the noose wrapped around their necks. The floor gives out under them, and they all hang. Later, after the life has been sucked out of their necks, they're dragged away and prepared to bury. But then the guards leave the bodies, because of course, what does it matter? There's 3 dead criminals. They return the next day, there's only 2 bodies. Well, they were all dead. So maybe someone got hungry or wanted some vengeance from the man. Later it was known that thief they thought slain was still active, and his reputation did grow but larger at having somehow cheated death. And he will describe the Necklace of the Noose. This little talisman allows you to feign death perfectly. When you activate it, you die from whatever malady is most appropriate for your current situation. You might succumb to your wounds, or appear to be blasted by a death spell, or just suffer a sudden and lethal heart attack. You appear genuinely dead to all observers. A hard skill check by a physician or a spellcaster with some sort of life-discerning spell might sense that something is wrong, but could not say for sure if you're alive or dead. Considering what you've told me then, Dwohurim, I would say you have not entirely killed Death's Hand. Just destroyed the adventuring party.
Not slowly. That seems likely, yes, from what you say. Had I only known this when we engaged them, I could have...
The nobleman nods. Yes, yes. In order to fit in with the illusion, the item itself pretends to be non-magical, and it is rather good with that. Most people just look at someone who's dead and see someone who's dead. And even rifling through their belongings, you wouldn't know what to look for unless you were specifically looking for it. I only know because I saw what he wore, and it was with that in mind that I thought I'd bring it up. Such is assistance. What you paid.
Francis, do you have an idea of where we could find him? I think he might have some knowledge that would be interesting for us to have.
Now that would be difficult for me, considering how I thought them dead, or realized when I once tried to contact Vane, sometime after I presume you've killed them. It is possible that I could maybe put out some of my feelers, have Radcliffe leave a message or 2, but it would have to be done with no affiliation to any of you. You dismantled their adventuring party. Their 2 years of success gone in a flash, everything they built. And while it sounds like you did that for perfectly good reason, I can't imagine them wanting to have anything more to do with you except in the cause of vengeance, if they know that you are affiliated with me and want me to look for them on your behalf. Still, I can try, and maybe Vane and that accountant of theirs, Nathan, maybe at least maybe they'll be somewhere in the city and be a bit desperate for money, since the guards have camped out their former headquarters, and it sounds like you took what's most valuable.
Nod and says we would very much appreciate such aid.
I will, for what you have given me, I will do what I can in that regard. Is there a place I should contact you at? Should I uncover anything favorable?
Says we generally stay around the, we come back and sleep at the Arcane College.
Well, should I unravel anything, I can always send a message there. to leave at your doorstep, Dwohurim. Was there something else you wished to know that I may be able to assist you with, Shaper?
I am curious as to what you know of the second circle of Shapers. I know little that they themselves have not told me, and it has been hard to find more information, especially about the things they brought with them from Geráck. As if you can see the auras of the items, you know what I carry.
Now, Geráck, that is not a name I have heard in decades. It is something my father would say, which is something that his father would say, trailing all the way back, a lost legacy of sorts. There are history books that I have, the accounts of my ancestor who escaped. But not much detail is given, other than that it was a great treasure that is gone and irreplaceable. The hopes to attempt another expedition to Geráck, forgotten and lost, of course, just like the Second Circle itself. I could not say for myself what the ruins of Geráck were held. I only know about it from the books my ancestors wrote, and from, well, what little information I've attempted to dig up on my own, that it was once an operable island floating, as some other islands do, containing a machine race from some other realm or plane. The island crashed far to the north, and its secrets there for anyone to plunder. The Second Circle was the one who managed to uncover at least that, which might be the greatest treasure from there, or it might not be. I cannot say. But I had not seen it myself, or heard much of it, until... And then he gestures at you.
Soran says, "Indeed it is so, and I carry with me the treasure that was lost. The legacy that was forgotten is now being spoken of again."
Many of my ancestors' friends died to uncover such, hoping that it would be a worthwhile endeavor and lead to... well, I'm sure they all had their motivations. Fame, riches, knowledge. They thought it a worthwhile pursuit, and for that, I try to honor at least what my ancestor thought. But, again, it's been a few hundred years. Geráck is but one of many islands, I'm sure, over the ages who've fallen and have been forgotten.
Looks at him and says, "And yet it speaks of you. Even now I feel its motions slide through me, as I'm sure you're familiar. It is strong here. It knows you. It knows something in you. And its songs are convincing."
That he lowers his head and scrutinizes you carefully and says, "Do be careful, Dwohurim. Magic items all carry their own weights with them. Do make sure that the weight of this doesn't press too heavily upon you. You're still you, with your own history, your own loves and passions and hatreds. Try not to be unduly swayed."
And yet I do earnestly believe that There is more to yourself and perhaps what you could be than even you realize. Although I have met you now, and from the short time we have talked here, I've already learned a lot. Your ancestors could do amazing things, and I see little reason why you should not be able to do similar things.
Looks away towards the tower and says, "That died long ago, and I gave up on that. It is not to be."
Can I ask why?
I don't know. I've certainly tried plenty times. I can't do it.
It doesn't seem right. There must be a reason.
No, doesn't have to be reason. Does there have to be reason why the Lich King plots on his island hoping to reclaim his throne every single day? Does there have to be reason why demons swarm out of the abyss hoping to consume the Dragon Empire in effigy of darkness? Does there have to be reason why undersea abominations storm the eastern hills hoping to rush over the land? I mean, there might be reasons, but does there have to be?
Imagine a wave from the ocean being blown from far away by a strong wind. And yet, once the wind is gone, the wave continues, only growing weaker and slower over time, until at last it fades and rushes to shore with only a slight impact. If the wind was to blow again, the wave could rise, as it did once. The potential is still there. All it needs is the wind to blow it. Your family rose as shapers of the second circle. There is something special about them, a special talent. I have been told that I carry with me talents as well, talents that were hard to make use of when I was young. I was not encouraged to follow these abilities, but I left what was familiar, what was safe. And to be quite honest, I have never found it again, but I have found an outlet for my capabilities to create, to make, to shape. And, well, I do not know you, not as much as I would want to. But this is not an emotion that I would take lightly. I'm not an emotional man. My people are not known for such. We're known for melancholy, if anything. And yet, I do not feel such here. As I said something about destiny before, and I might have misspoken. Destiny is not the right word. I suppose the right word would be possibility, rather than destiny. There might not be any assurances, not any way things have to end. But that, in a way, is stronger than if they had to be. It makes it so that there might be a chance. A chance for this wind to blow again. And if anything was the wind of your family, I think this might have been it. I saw the depictions when we came in. So let's that hang.
The nobleman begins to move backward and says, "You speak of many things, some of which I imagine you have little knowledge or understanding. Now, I will consider your words, but I certainly haven't felt any wind blow in the years I've been alive."
Oh, slowly. You've been far removed, as it turns out. But if you will let me, I will attempt. Please give me the chance. Looks sort of at him, confident in the thought that this could work.
Baffled by your forwardness and the fact that no one has tried to stop you or, like, pull you back for, like, insanity. Well, if you find a way to make the wind blow again, you can let me know.
Paladin says, and in return, perhaps, for my trying, you will answer what questions I might have of the second circle, or at least allow me to browse your collection of books on the subject.
Yes, that would be a suitable trade if you could make the wind blow.
Paladin says, I will do my best. He does a deep bow.
Right, well, I do have some other guests to entertain later and a restaurant to visit. Is there anything else that you or your silent companions would wish?
He looks and just sort of looking down a little bit, having been enthralled into his stream of thoughts and words. He says, this might not be your area of expertise. Well, we've been looking for someone who does not want to be found. Someone who's hiding here in the heights. A man named Thurl, a dwarf. We believe he has a connection to this enemy of ours, and he is hiding out rather effectively in a bolt hole.
I wouldn't know anything about him. Can't say I've much done business with the man, and I wouldn't know where to find him. Though to hear that he might have a secret house within the Heights isn't much of a surprise, given what I've heard of his wealth. Perhaps you can find your answers, should I manage to find Vane or Nathan. I know that Death's Hand has done jobs from him from time to time.
Yes, perhaps we will. Sort of nods slightly and says, I have much to think on, and perhaps you do as well. I will not hold you from your guests. Excuse my companions here. They have recently joined our company, and I fear they know little of our current affairs, at least not as confidently as me or the others.
Right. The unnerved nobleman turns his back towards you, a sign of vulnerability, and says, Then you can see yourselves out.
Hume does a deep bow and takes 2 steps back and says, yes. He sort of has a lingering glance at the man before he turns and walks. A little gesture with his hands to make the others follow him out.
The butler, who was politely standing here by the path, gives you a confused expression, then back at his master, and then shows you to the door.
Grim is in thought here, but has a sort of a smile on his face.
And you folks can transition yourselves back to the Newport map. Unless you want to ogle at this. It's up to you.
It's a nice map.
Yes. So,
And
what was that all about?
as you three left his presence, all the feelings or whatever that I sent you guys, that fades.
Right.
Grim again feels slightly dazed as he walks away.
What was that all about?
Chris, one.
The wind blowing and what was that all about?
I'm not sure what to talk about.